That's at your place.
It's yours.
That's at the depot.
Oh, it's a depot.
Everything's at the depot except the walking trail.
Okay. 9:30 tomorrow and 9 o'clock the next day.
We'll feed you. Thursday. Mountain Mocha.
Oh, okay. I'm not confused. If I wasn't already confused, I'm
Doing well, Norm. How are you? Good to see you.
Oh,
What's in our little? Oh, okay.
Oh, boy.
You turned.
I didn't know about Thursday, Alice. If I did, I forgot.
I knew about you. I've got Thursday.
Yes.
Thank you.
How are you? Hey, Brandon. Good. How are you doing? Good.
Yeah,
Hey, Grant.
tomorrow, 9:30 to 11,
Okay. I can do that.
and then, and then 6 to
Been working?
7:30 in the evening.
Been working today? Or you just?
I guess I do have Thursday. Got
Oh,
tired
yeah.
of
You said you were double
9
shift.
to 10:30.
Swinging around.
That's it.
Yeah, that will be hard.
Yeah.
Okay, it's 5:30. And we are all here, so
Turn your microphones on.
we'll get started. Get started where we can get finished. Let's call the Walhalla City Committee meeting of October the 4th, 2022. Let's call it to order. Want to welcome everyone that's here. Thank you for coming. And at this time, we'll have a moment of silence. Okay, at this time, we will have the Pledge of Allegiance. Councilwoman Melendez, would you like to do the?
Yes, sir. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. I think all of you probably looked at your agenda. Do I have a motion that we approve the agenda?
I'll make such a motion.
Do we have a second?
I second.
Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor of the agenda as presented, aye.
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 Okay. Proclamation, we don't have a,
No, sir. I should have caught that. That's
okay. We'll go
your
right on.
administrator's error.
All right, let's go to public input. Public comment is limited to 5 minutes and must be directed to council per city ordinance 2020-17. Is there anyone tonight that would like to comment on anything that's going on in the city? Don't be shy. Okay, hearing none, we will move right on down the agenda to staff reports. Under community development, the first item is Main Street, Director Libby Embody.
Good evening. Thank you for moving me around a little bit so I could go earlier. You don't need me to turn this on.
Yes, please.
There you go.
Okay. I added added some photos to my report since you guys are digital now, so we're not wasting paper, but it'll give you something else to look at besides me. So our update from September, if you can see our volunteer hours, that should say September, 285 volunteer hours last month. That's a value of $8,500, so I think that's really impressive. You can see we had groups from the Walhalla High School come and help with our festivals and setting up and working our booth. We had some volunteers help us with our painted bench project, and then the photo on the right is the library team from sorry, what is the name of that group?
It's the outreach, multicultural outreach.
Okay, from the library.
From the
And
library.
it's
It's a
about a
committee.
group of about 10 people, all volunteers, and they were really, involved in the festival last weekend. So we had a great volunteer turnout last month and expect the same for this month. So just kind of recap of some of the things we worked on. The Greenway support team, I think, met once. We did meet with Brandon and kind of walked to the first phase there to get an idea of what it was. John Bodiford, who's our tree guy, walked with it, so that was really good, helpful for him to kind of give some advice of what he thought, needed to take place in there. And we talked about, the opportunity to partner with some of the community, engage with some of those buildings that are there, like the library, Clemson Rural Health, the extension. There's some great opportunity because the path will go right in front of their places. So been reaching out to them and kind of brainstorming ways we can partner to add some amenities to the trail. Then Upstate Mobility Alliance, which is part of the 10 at the Top group. They've been kind of working with us to help support the Greenway project, and GP came out and worked on like a promotional video. He walked the section and kind of got some interviews with some of the members of the public and everything. So he'll be putting that together. I think he's going to put together a short version, a couple different versions that we can put out to kind of get people excited about it. So that's what's going on with that. The Hispanic Heritage Festival was on September 24th. I know I saw some of y'all there. It was, I don't even know how to describe it. It was definitely surprised. I was expecting maybe 800 to 1,000 people. We had 3,000 people there. Tons of food. Lots of people from outside of the community, so it was good when we have the Clemson away game during the festivals. That we had Easley, Anderson, we had people from Toccoa, people from Cashers. It was a great turnout. I think we had 5 different countries represented in the food and the crafts, and just being there, we met people from probably 4 or 5 other countries that were like, we're going to come back next year and be part of it. And that was tied in with the Voces Comunitarias Conference that I know SRE worked hard on. We did a bilingual walking tour of downtown, which was really cool. There was about 10 of us, and we partnered with the History Museum. So we did a tour, and then we had some people translate as we went along. So it was really interesting, and I think people got really excited, and they were really impressed with our stores, our Hispanic and Latino stores that were, brought some items that they hadn't seen since, they had been in other countries and stuff. So it was really cool. It was a neat way to highlight our downtown businesses. For really the one learning thing from that, I think, was trash. When you have a food festival, we had a lot of trash. I think I got some pictures of the piles of trash at the end. There was plenty of trash cans, but there was just so much of it. But all those volunteers at the end of the night walked all that trash around the block and put it in the dumpster. So it was so it wouldn't be out all weekend, because that would have been really bad. So looking forward to next year, we'll need to keep ahead of that for this, since it was so big. It was a really great event. I'll work up a kind of economic impact report for that too next month. Our light pole banner projects are done, and there's some photos of a couple of them. Russ and his guys have already put up the fall ones, and I think yesterday they put up the Oktoberfest ones. They look really, really good. Anytime we put them up, we always get tons of comments about just how happy people are with them. So Definitely want to thank them for storing them, keeping them up, trading them out, you know, in a timely manner and all that. They look really good.
Can I ask a question?
Yes.
And I see in the picture right now has the German flag and the Walhalla.
Yes.
That's new for this year?
Yes,
Okay.
those are all brand new. Hmm.
So
And then
that would take in place versus the German
I
flag.
think they're still going to put
Oh.
the flags up, but like out, not in that downtown
Okay.
little area. So some of the flags I know were getting old, so
Yeah.
this way there'll be enough flags. I think they run them all the way down to Sertoma, right?
Yes.
Normally, yeah.
Okay.
So
North
and then
Catherine
up,
Street.
yeah.
Mhm.
So
Okay.
that'll give them more to do that without having to buy new ones.
Fantastic.
So we got lots of news going on with our downtown businesses. I was joking with somebody that I had to go get my giant scissors sharpened because we've got so many grand openings coming up. We did open Falcon's Attic, which I think might have been, or maybe I was talking to you guys about it last time I was here, but they had their grand opening. The Clemson Rural Health Department had their grand opening as well. I know a lot of you guys attended that. That's a really great opportunity for downtown, not just for the health clinic, but Clemson is moving their rural health department from campus to Walhalla. So that's huge. They're going to build out the upstairs and move everything off of campus, and Walhalla will be the home base for that statewide program. So it's a really cool thing, and it shows that, you know, we can have statewide home bases being in Walhalla. So, and then Sunny Ann expanded and opened a new little shop called Glam Gal Luxury Brands. Her grand opening got rained out, but she did have a soft opening on Saturday, and, you know, texted me, was really, really happy with her sales. She had a lot of people come from out of town to kind of see what she's got. So that was a success. We've got some construction projects. That's Brett's Billiards. They did a really beautiful deck off of the back of their building. And then the Alexander Office Supply has traded hands, and really excited about that. They're going to keep the heart of the business, but at the same time kind of upgrade it a little bit, you know, make it a little more online services, and then build out that retail with some like stationery shops and things like that. So I met with them, and they're really excited about that. They're going to probably do their grand opening in December, but right now they're just kind of taking their time to adjust into it. And I know there's a restaurant that people are concerned, there's two restaurants that people are concerned about and feel really good about both of them. I know Mountain Mocha is getting ready to reopen, so that's going to be great. I don't have a date for that, but, you know, it's soon. They're getting really trained in the machines and everything, so everything will run smoothly when they do reopen. And then the other restaurant that became available is already leased out, so there'll be another restaurant coming into there. And that's the rest of it.
That's good.
Yes, so it's good.
That is great news.
Yeah. So just wanted to kind of highlight some of our community partners. I talked about the Oconee History Museum. We worked together on the bilingual tour, and we're working together on the Merchant Market and Craft Fair. They're going to help they're going to be open and kind of be greeting people and talking about the history. They've done a really neat thing about the history, why we celebrate Walhalla. That's a digital thing. If you haven't checked that out, they did a really good job on that. The Oconee County Public Library, we've been working a lot with them about the Hispanic Heritage Festival, but also now with the Greenway, we'll be partnering with them to see how we can connect those two things and really make it a good asset for the community. Clemson, obviously the Rural Health Department, but we've also been working with them just in every way possible, just trying to build that relationship. So it's been a good thing. And then I have been going to the newcomers clubs that are once a month, which is a really good way to reach out to new people that are there really looking for ways to connect with the community. So it's a good way to sign up volunteers and get people interested in what's going on in Walhalla. Do you have a question?
I was gonna just clarify on my end. I'm seeing the Oconee County Public Library's logo.
Mm-hmm.
Blair Henson, who is the director, I did get a message, and I think it's just called the Cultural Outreach Committee that was working closely with the city
Okay.
of Walhalla. I say multicultural just because I know they also bring in different types of culture and heritage, just like the German that we have here, and that's going to be celebrated, and we have been celebrating for 40 plus years. So I think it's just cultural outreach committee.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank
Just
you.
want to make that
Yeah,
clarification.
thank you.
Yeah.
And then the painted bench project, we've been working on that. That was something that our board members about a year and a half ago purchased these benches, and we had volunteers clean them, paint them, and then we went in and sketched out flowers. We put them out kind of for sale. We ended up selling 30. We only have 18, so we're going to go back and buy more. And now that we're showing pictures of them, more people want them. But, we had our first, I think we've had 8 done. If you drive by the Earl House, you can see the finished
Yeah.
ones there. They look really, really good, and it's just a really neat way to kind of engage the community and get people kind of proud of what's going on. So the next phase with that is, we'll clear coat them, we'll get plaques for those, and we'll put them around town, and it'll have a QR code, so there'll be like a little trail that you can do. You can pull it up and see who all the sponsors were, and kind of wander through town and find all of the benches. So probably the time that trail is ready, when everything is done, I would say it's probably going to be around the holidays, just because a lot of people are taking the benches and working on them and all of that. But hopefully it'll be soon. So again, we've got lots of volunteers helping with that project too. All right, and then coming up, hopefully you guys know about the Place and Main Advisors. I feel like I've been talking about it for 6 months, but Joe's coming in today, and that will take place on the 5th and the 6th. So what you all are invited for the kind of an intro meeting tomorrow at 9:30, and that would be a good time for you to kind of have those one-on-one conversations with Joe. I know some of you guys have talked to me about some ideas that you wanted to run by him. I think tomorrow would be that good time for him to do that. And then we'll be meeting individually with some of these property owners, and he's going to tour some of the properties, and then we'll host the public visioning session, which is at 5:30 tomorrow night. And we're going to walk through town, look at those 6 properties. Everyone has sticky notes. They're going to say, this is what I think this would be really cool as. He's going to take that, combine it with market data, kind of find out what he would suggest best use for those. We will do some architectural renderings of that. He'll do pro formas to run the numbers to show, what the best economic use of those spaces are. And then he'll also create a sample or draft RFP. So you'll have a package for each one of those properties that we can go and, start looking at developers for. So really excited about that, and we thank Oconee County for helping fund that project too. And Jenny is here with Main Street South Carolina, so she's here to help with that project as well. Our fall decorations are going up with the Walhalla Women's Club. This is the 3rd year that they've helped with that, so they'll be out there on Thursday putting up corn stalks, and I think they've already done
They put
the signs today.
The wreaths today.
Yeah.
I noticed them
They
coming
look
to
gorgeous.
me.
So yes, we want to definitely thank them for their help with that. And then events, it's October, so we got a lot going on. The Merchant Market and Craft Fair this year is the week before Oktoberfest. I think the last couple ones it was after, but so it's October 15th. We have 100 vendors. It's going to be great. Really, really excited. We've got live music. We've got the Bavarian dancers. We've got a petting zoo. Lots of cool stuff for the kids. The St. John's Church is going to be there with their brat plates. They're also going to be doing tours of their church and the cemetery, so we're kind of combining a couple events into one. That's on the 15th from 10 to 5. Looking for volunteers if anybody would like to help with that one too. And then Oktoberfest, of course, is the 21st through the 23rd. The Oktoberfest committee has offered to help us kind of create a bulletin board, like almost like a kiosk when you go to a trailhead kind of thing, a big thing that we can highlight our downtown businesses and stuff, so they'll have a presence on the field. Then our last cruise-in of the year is Friday, October 28th. And then that Saturday is Wahalloween, which is the trick-or-treat downtown from noon to 4, and we're going to have our Wahalloweenie costume dog parade as well. super excited about that. And then next on my list, after we get all this stuff done, is to really start working on those business directories and some signage and things for downtown, printed rack cards, that kind of stuff. That'll be kind of my next big project that I start taking on. And then lastly, just wanted to give you a little bit of feedback just from things that I've heard from business owners, property owners, community members, just to give you a little heads up. I know we hear a lot about kind of the rental rates in downtown and what's going on with that. I've been talking to as many property owners as I can and just kind of trying to get a history of what those numbers are. I mean, I feel like our rental rates are kind of where they need to be given our vacancy rates. I think what the problem is that some of the buildings that are asking that high rent still need a lot of work done to them. So, if you're paying, say, $1,500 for a space that's turnkey, you can walk in and open your business in a week, that's one thing. But some of these other spaces need a lot of work, and there's a lot of time involved, and that gives a lot of new businesses a lot of anxiety. So, I show them a lot of these properties, and it's really overwhelming to them when it's, a lot of the property owners are willing to finish them out for them, but if you're a new business owner, it's just too overwhelming for you to take on. So I think that's kind of where we are right now as far as the real estate market goes. We've got to figure it out. I don't know if there's a way to incentivize our property owners to finish, white box those buildings and at least get, restrooms in there, flooring, that kind of stuff. I'm not really sure what the answer is, but just wanted to kind of make you aware that that's kind of what the situation is and why, if you look at the spaces that are available, almost all of them are in that condition. The spaces that are ready go within a day. So all of the spaces that we still have left we got to kind of figure out some way to get them to a condition where it's not overwhelming for a small business to come into them. The trash, of course, trash is always a problem. But I think specifically at the city parking lot, get a lot of comments about trash, being on the ground, but also kind of overflowing and it affecting some of the businesses that have outdoor seating and that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Again, I don't know what the answer.
Is this on South Catherine, that parking lot?
The city parking lot specifically, yeah. So
And if I can just mention, because I was driving by there, and I do see where if we don't figure out a solution to this, it could be an area of unpleasant gathering. So what I mean by that is because I picked up the trash myself, but I have seen like liquids, on the concrete, so that there's the smell, and then I'm just thinking that we need to reconsider that location or figure out what could we do to support that, because that is city parking, and it does look bothersome if we don't have a plan to do that. And then the smell, and then the leakage, and then when summer comes, I just can imagine the flies and everything, And it's a walking, I walk through it, so.
And it's really kind of the first impression, when people come, that's where they park. So I don't know.
Yeah.
I know that Russ has been looking into solutions, and, of course it all entails money. So I don't know how much of a priority it is, but if you look at that block and you look at all of those businesses that have changed hands in the last year, they're all in that block, and a lot of them have the intention of putting decks off the back or outdoor seating or something. And they're also going to add to more trash, once those businesses are open. So I feel like it's something that kind of is just something that maybe needed to be addressed at some point. But I don't have any answers to you. Just wanted to.
Trash containers are not expensive. They're somewhat expensive. We can buy some more. The problem is where are we going to put them?
Yeah.
That's the problem. Nobody wants it next to their building.
Yeah.
So
We're smelling
makes it
it too
difficult.
on the back side of our place. It's just, it's got to go somewhere. This
Yeah.
thing's bad over there, but it's just, you just can't. I I don't know what the answer is either, but it's, we're smelling it too, so.
Are you? Yeah. So, all right, and then I'm gonna leave on a positive note, though. So the last little bit of community feedback is, I just wanted to tell you, is about civic pride. I mean, I know that most of you guys have lived here your whole lives. I've lived here 22 years, and and part of it is my job now that I'm aware of it more, but I've continuously run into people that have lived here forever or moved and came back, and you just are always getting comments about how proud they are about, you know, how things are looking, but also just, you know, people are engaged and all the activities and vibrancy downtown, and it's just something that I think everybody should be really proud of, so it's a really good thing. So that's all I got. I will see you all tomorrow.
I
Yes.
will
Does
be
anybody
out
have
of town.
questions?
I want to let you know I was already had plans to be out of
Okay,
town. Sorry about that. So.
okay.
Can I ask who's gonna be there tomorrow from my council? The mayor, you, Grant, okay, Danny?
Yeah.
He, Tyler, you're working. Yeah, I had to flex my hours, so I'm gonna be there, but I might have to jump out
Okay.
with virtual meetings, but.
So, and Mountain Mocha is doing breakfast on Thursday for
Yeah, I
us,
saw
so
that.
that's good.
That's great.
Great, thank you. So the majority of your council's gonna be there.
Yay!
So that's
That's
great.
awesome. Thank you.
Sorry I
guys.
can't. So
It's okay. We'll
I'm
catch you up.
working a lot of hours and so.
I know.
We'll catch you up, baby.
Libby, it's
Yeah.
9:30 tomorrow.
Yes,
Where?
Depot. So we've got Wednesday morning, 9:30, with Joe. That is really kind of council, Main Street Board. It's a smaller group, and he'll kind of, that's more like one-on-one time, you know. I think that'll, and he's gonna kind of preview the project. Then we'll do the walking tour that night, and then Thursday morning at 9 is a larger group, and he's gonna really get into the numbers, a lot of data. He's got a lot of, you know, market research about what types of businesses there's need, like, you know, leakage. So what are things that people are going outside of Walhalla to go do and buy? He's got all of that data for us.
And this is at the depot again?
That's at the depot as well.
Okay.
When is the breakfast for gather?
Well, that's it. They're just gonna bring some sandwiches and coffee. They're
okay,
gonna cater it
to
for
the
us.
depot.
Yeah.
Ah, okay, gotcha.
Now,
Thank you.
the Wednesday evening,
Yes.
where is that when?
You meet at the Earl House at the Main Street office, 5:30. It's a walking tour, and it's there. This is it too.
Pictures where we're going?
Yeah. So there's 6 properties
Mhm.
that have been identified, and we'll walk them. We've got a golf cart too, if people, you know, need help driving around. And that's open to the public, so we invite everybody to come for
Okay.
that.
And just how long do you expect that to go?
It starts at 5:30. We should be done by 7.
Okay.
It'll get dark too.
Yeah.
Gotta go home.
I'll probably have to skip out a little early on that.
Okay. Yeah.
I plan on making that too.
Okay. Awesome.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Good deal. Okay. We'll move right on down the agenda. Our next, item is Parks and Recreation. Mr. John Galbraith.
Just have a couple of things. Fall sports will be ending in the next couple of weeks. Most of our home games will be ending. Our last home game will be Monday for football. All-star teams will start practice after that, and basketball registration will be October 17th through the 28th. That's about all I have.
I'd like to make see if we could meet just the rec committee, meet sometime Monday, in reference to, discuss some team sports. I'd like to make a recommendation that we do that.
And just as a reminder, the rec committee is chaired by Councilman Woodward, Councilman Underwood, and Councilwoman Melendez. That's who's on that committee, so.
So if I'm hearing you correctly, wanna do a subcommittee, a
Yeah,
committee
just a subcommittee.
for Monday with our director to
Mhm.
be in there,
That's
Rhonda, okay. Yeah.
Try to attend that too. That's gonna be what time?
What time?
We need to come up with a time, so I
Okay.
can afford it to be around, later in the afternoon if it's okay, so.
What does your schedule look like, John?
I'm free probably around 7:30. We have football starting at 6, so I probably need to be there for that.
So we're talking about earlier in the afternoon then?
Yeah, well, that would be all right with me, cause we go, 7:30.
7:30 at night? Sounds good with me.
If it runs a little over, I'll text you and let you know I'll be there as soon as I can get.
Sorry about that.
We're gonna meet
Here.
here
Yeah.
at 7:30.
Okay.
Monday, the 10th?
Yep.
Okay, 7:30 PM. Alright. I'm gonna go ahead and schedule it.
I kinda give you a little time too, 'cause I know you were working too,
Mhm.
so.
No, I appreciate that.
I'd like to make a comment. I'm kinda anxious about these, All-Stars. Cause there's a few of those kids can play some football. And be exciting. Our rec program is, I've had a few out-of-towners ask what we're feeding our kids up here.
That's fun.
They run over a few of them. Yes, they look really good. I'm excited about our,
10 other teams only lost one game this year.
yeah.
I also would like to just do like a special shout out with the last week events on Main Street and then Voces. Mr. Galbraith, under his leadership, was able to support us in the gym. So the childcare was being there, just like the YMCA uses it. So thank you for trusting we can get that settled and providing the key back thanks to the fire department. I was able to drop it off there and they were able to coordinate. So next time I need to make sure the key is in your hand before Monday. So I appreciate your flexibility on that and your leadership on that. It's really very much appreciated. Thank you.
Anything else for Mr.
No.
John?
No, I don't have anything, so.
Thank you, sir.
If you get a chance, we have 5 fields going tonight. Had a crowd.
All right, our next committee is Public Works. Mr. Price, Public Works Committee is made up of Councilman Jordan, Councilman Pace, and Councilwoman Melendez.
Good afternoon. For the month of September, we picked up 234 tons of residential, 131 tons of commercial garbage, 84 tons of recyclable brush, 15 tons of C&D, and then 1.75 tons of mattresses. That was 2 loads. And I put this in here because I thought it was interesting. For the year from July 2021 to July 2022, we picked up 2,858 tons of residential garbage, 1,209 tons of commercial garbage, 899 tons of recyclable brush, 57 tons of C&D, and then 20 tons of mattresses. And it was actually just a little over 20, but I just rounded everything. Roll carts for September, we delivered 30, picked up 11, and repaired or replaced 7. We continue picking up brush, leaves, trash, all the putting up banners, flags, and routine maintenance tasks. Set up and breakdown for homecoming, Hispanic Heritage Festival, the Clemson Health Center grand opening events, and we've begun training on the Outwork fleet management and work order system. It's going to take a little while to fully implement, but it's going pretty good so far.
Committee, do we have any questions?
All the trucks is up and going.
Yes, sir.
I'm not on the committee, but can I ask a question?
Yes, sir.
Willis is talking about the leakage and stuff on the trash out at the the city parking lot, so as far as the trash cans and stuff, could you elaborate on any of that, or just tell us what the problem
don't
is,
know
or what we
about-
can fix it, or?
I don't know about any leakage, but the cans shouldn't be leaking. They should have a stopper on them, so they shouldn't be leaking.
So I can elaborate and clarify, thank you for bringing it up. The leakage could have been already something that probably just got smashed inside there, so it could have been like a drink or something, and you know, so when it's being on the concrete floor, it's beside the trash, so to ensure that everybody understands here, it could be just a trash that's already inside leaking. It's probably not directly leaking outside of or
Okay.
inside
I understood it was.
the bin. I guess it's just just trash that's exposed, not inside, and it's on the parking lot.
Just
So
where
like-
people have thrown stuff out on the
Yeah,
ground.
and maybe
Yeah,
it just
they
got
do.
missed.
We cleaned it up quite a bit, and
And now you see
it's-
stains on the concrete, which is normal until it rains or maybe washes off, or
Yeah.
if somebody
But we have.
intentionally.
There's been a increased amount of trash over there.
Yeah.
A lot of beer cans and things. So.
So along that line, since Mr. Jordan chairs the Public Works, do you think we can explore on what that would look like to better enhance that area as we start seeing the growth of that?
Sure, like they said, where are we gonna put the cans? That's the issue.
Yeah.
Where, what would you think, Russ?
There's not really a place to put them. I mean, they make some things to put like the dumpsters in the ground,
Mm-hmm.
which are pretty neat. But I mean, there's not really a good place. It would take a lot to do that. It would be a big undertaking, but it's not going to help for the regular trash. A lot of it's people pull up before they leave. They've got a beer can either in their car or whatever, and they set it on the ground, bottle, throw it in the bushes, whatever.
So there's a lot of littering.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
The biggest, I think the biggest problem is people not using the receptacles. You know, they
That's
just
right.
kind of throw it in the vicinity and go on.
If they go out and get in their car, they're not going to walk to the receptacle.
Yeah.
They're just,
Sounds like crossover with law enforcement to me.
Yeah, that's what it sounds like to me too. If it's beer, open container.
Well, any kind of trash for littering is against the law. I'm sure we have a city ordinance about littering too,
oh yeah.
so.
But it's just, we clean it up a lot, especially since the other places have opened up over there. We're getting a lot more trash over there.
Takes more man hours out of your day and
Oh yeah.
Do you see the trash can leaking? The trash can's not leaking, is it? Or
The
probably
trash.
just people throwing stuff and
No,
haphazardly.
she's talking, I think she's talking about like bottles leaking out on the ground and things.
Yeah, or maybe it
Yeah.
just slipped inside.
Overflow too,
Probably an overflow.
from the trash cans.
But like I even seen like, I don't know, some food item that was just smashed in the ground, and now you see the crumbs and like the, you know, it just looks. It could get even nastier. I mean, obviously, trash is meant to be trash, and
Yeah.
it's just exposed on the concrete. It might be cleaned up now, but
And one thing I guess that we need to remind our merchants is
Do what?
to, when they put their trash in there, is to bag it.
Mm-hmm.
Correct.
Properly
That's-
bagged trash.
That's, if you don't tie that bag up, if they're throwing in cups with drinks and things in there, then when you dump that, it's
If
gonna,
it blows out or whatever, it's nothing really.
it's gonna pour out on the ground.
There's no way that you can police that, though.
Just to
No,
remind
we
them.
just try,
Yeah, it's
we
just
try
a-
and go 2 or 3 times a week and clean it up the best we can, you know.
It's just a issue to keep preaching and hoping that they will try to do
I'd
work
like
with
to
us on that.
Let's see how often we cite people for littering.
Throw that up in there. That'd
get
get
us
bad
too,
busted.
maybe.
That's what happened. The bad busted.
look at those things. I was able to pull up a picture, and I'll just. I know you probably can't see it all the way. Yeah.
Looks like to me the door was
Okay.
open, they threw it in there and it didn't get in there all the way.
But as you can see, I'm not saying that the garbage did that, but this is just an example.
Mm-hmm.
If we don't get it under control or look at the future of what, like you said, that underground, that's probably expensive. I don't know what the cost would be, but that's what I'm talking about. I mean, I don't expect our employees to go and literally pick up every item there. I don't expect that, but how do you, like you mentioned, how do you enforce that? With a policy, maybe, you know, put in a no litter sign there, but then the location of itself, I think it needs to be reassessed. And I don't know how much property the city, you know, I don't even know the layout of that. I know there's some green space in front of the
Is that the
fence.
one behind Mountain Mocha?
No, it's behind West End Cold Tap. Oh, I mean, it's the only one, I think. Is there only one
Yeah,
of these
there's
in
one
there?
up there, yeah.
There's only one, right?
Mhm.
Okay.
Only
So-
other thing you could do is maybe just post some signs, nice and generous, please don't litter.
Yeah, I'll
To,
make sure
to,
to see
you know, to remind folks not to throw your trash on the ground.
what our penalty is for it too.
Yeah.
Maybe it needs to be stiffer. I know they have a lot more work to do than just be litter police, obviously, but
We
it
get a
could
lot.
become a problem. It stresses you guys out. It's unsightly for the businesses and for people. Unhealthy, could become a hygiene concern.
Do you think this is something, Mr. Burton, that the team can look at to reassess the location of it? Is there an opportunity for that?
Yeah, and actually, Russ and myself, we talked to a business owner there, and we had looked at different places about just creating a one-spot place. We could erect a fence up and put a couple of dumpsters there. On the flip side of that, you'd lose a couple parking spots. So you're gonna have to decide what your priorities are and how you'd like to proceed with that. But there's definitely, we can build a wooden fence or a recycled plastic fence to go around it that would hide some of the spillage that hits on the ground, and then it would might keep that contained. You could put 2 or 3 dumpsters in there, and that would be the central location. And but obviously you would end up losing some parking stalls if you did that.
One of the drawbacks to putting the dumpsters all together is it's gonna smell worse too.
It would hurt. It would.
Mm-hmm. You're making a collection area for that stuff on the ground.
It's
Well, it's not
concentrated,
just
it's
that,
streamed,
but
but
it's-
it's all in one spot.
Mhm, right, it's just gonna.
We're dumping them a lot more frequently to keep up with that, to keep it from smelling, but it's still, it enhances it when you, instead of one, you got 3.
I wanna learn more about that underground that you mentioned. I don't know what the future looks like for that. You know, I've never heard of it, but
Would you have to have a different truck?
I don't think so. I think it works with the trucks, but I looked at it and I thought it was neat, but I was like, we'll never do it. It's one of those, it was.
I've seen them in Greenville, but they are expensive.
Yeah, I think they were real
like the
expensive.
installment and the infrastructure of that,
Mhm.
is it
But
worth exploring, committee?
I'd be interested to look at it.
If you do one for one, you're gonna have to do it for the other, so you don't have a lot of room in other places. 'Cause it stinks just as bad on the other block as it does right there.
But the thing about it, it lands back on the city, Walhalla City parking lot. So that's
You're
like,
parking over there behind the other too.
is it a public parking?
Yes.
Are you talking about behind your business?
It's behind it's not just mine, it's the whole business back there, but you got.
There's not much parking.
No,
Okay,
but there is parking.
there is, okay.
I'd like to change gears if I may.
Okay.
So,
What about taking a look at some of the sidewalk cleaning? As the weather's cooling, some of the growth is kinda
We've
encroaching.
been doing some of that.
Yeah,
I don't know if you looked on Main Street, but it should be pretty clear right now.
okay, yeah,
Yeah, we've been doing what we can.
yeah,
Right now, through Thanksgiving, we'll be setting up for
I know.
Christmas and everything else, and we're pretty.
I know
tight.
I know it's a chore. I just see, you know, a lot of them, all the ivy and tree
should be.
limbs and stuff grow in on the sidewalks.
I know Main Street and some of most of the side streets should be pretty good now,
Okay.
so.
Alright, good deal.
Can I ask a question along the lines of that? Who is responsible when it comes to our electric poles if it's being covered by the kudzu?
Yeah, I was gonna
That's gonna be Duke Power, AT&T, or, well, should be Duke Power, AT&T, most of the
Okay.
ones, we used to have Blue Ridge, they're not now.
Down on,
It's behind your house. over
Behind,
there.
yeah,
Oh, yeah.
Blue Ridge is behind ours.
I mean, it's almost covered, and should we be concerned about the power being cut off by those kudzus?
I don't know if that's actually a power line or if it's
It's probably a phone line.
if it's phone and cable.
It
Coming in
won't
Nathan
grow on
and
the power
Jennifer's
line, it'll get
power
zapped
line.
Okay.
and come
Coming in,
back,
it's got
so.
It's just
from that
consuming the
force.
Yeah.
other people.
The big limbs are pushing down on it.
Well, the kudzu is a problem. It's
Yeah.
been a problem in Walhalla for a long time. And we just, maybe this winter we can figure out a way to spray some of it.
We can spray some of it on the city property, but we can't go
without permission.
Right. Well, I don't even know if we can with permission. I don't know, that's something we'd have to look at the ordinance.
But
We'll figure something out.
we just, to start with, we've got areas that are overgrown with it, and, your rats and vermin, all types of animals live there that,
The groundhogs live it.
yeah, that we don't want, and we need to try to work with our citizens that want it cleaned up to try to figure out ways that we can get rid of some of that.
And I'll talk to the contact we got with the Forest Service. They used to have a kudzu eradication program, or and I'll talk to USDA, and we might be able to
I think Westminster is working on that as
piggyback on
well.
something like that and do that.
Yeah, and I just wanna just share a little bit, stop signs that we have around has sometimes kudzu has taken over that, and former council member Dennis Owens and David, you were there, we did like a trip around, it was Walhalla Garden Apartment. We literally stopped and Dennis was taking it with David's support, and that's just an example of when the kudzu is out of control, even the stop signs are gonna be, so,
It
you know, if it
grows
was,
fast.
yeah.
When it rains, it grows fast.
Yeah, so I mean, besides physically doing it, you know, I like that you mentioned that part, so, okay, thank you.
I got one more thing, if it's okay.
Yes, sir.
Moore's Avenue, the sidewalk down through there, when you start down the hill, right, it looks like it's undermining right there. I was wondering if somebody could look at that.
Going down the hill.
Yeah, you coming down the hill from Main Street, the sidewalk right there on the right-hand side. It's, that's right there where I cut grass too, but I know there's a lot of foot traffic. It looks like it's undermining right there, so somebody's gonna walk down through there and step off, and it's not gonna be good.
Okay, I'll check that out.
Anything else? Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thanks, Russ.
Okay, let's go to the Walhalla Police Department. Chief Tim Rice. Police is chaired by David Underwood, Councilman Woodward, and Councilman King are also part of that committee.
Before I start too far, I want to point out that I made a little typo and I put September 6th from last month on my thing this month. And the format, and even on my side, it looks right. On this side, I realized that the pages were a little wonky, so I apologize for that. Let's start on personnel. We do have a new hire, Melissa Green. She comes to us with 10 years of law enforcement experience. Super glad to have her. She's already out doing her work on her own. She's currently on Bravo shift, which is one of our 2 day shifts. And she and her family recently moved here from Anderson County, so we're glad to have her on board. Look for her if you guys have an opportunity to introduce yourselves. I would encourage you to do that. Our events that were complete in September, I attended and just got back from on Sunday the annual Chiefs Conference down in Myrtle Beach. Weather-wise was a little strange, but conference was really good, so a little bit of a hurricane there. Captain Watson attended a cultural competency training, which was held a couple weeks ago. Staff Sergeant Zach McCall attended a rifle instructor school, and last month I told you guys that he finished up the pistol instructor school, so now he is certified in both, which is a huge benefit to the department to be able to teach that. And Corporal Parker Scruggs attended the supervisor and leadership training course last week. Our total hours for training in September were 189. Moving on down to overtime, we had 8.5 hours of shift coverage, 6 hours of court overtime for a total of 14.5. Last month we had 62, so we're down quite a bit from last month. Our upcoming events, training, and other police department news, we're continuing to plan and schedule for Oktoberfest. I believe as of about 11 o'clock this morning, we had all of our scheduling worked out, so we're ready to go ahead of time, which is really good. We are continuing to plan for our Main Street Halloween event at the police department, as well as the Boo in the Bay at the fire department. It's a joint venture between the fire department and police department. I hope this year is going to be a little different than some of the years that I've been present for. Misty Benson, who is my administrative assistant, and Lieutenant Justin McAllister from the fire department have been working on that really hard, so I hope that's turns out to be a really good event. We're working outside the police department. We've been working inside for a while, trying to update some of our things inside and give ourselves a little facelift. With that, the outside of the building obviously hasn't had any touch-ups in a while. Our bulletin board and some of the things outside the building were in pretty bad shape, so we've taken those down. We're about 70–75% done on rehabbing what we had. We're just reusing mostly old material. We're gonna put that bulletin board back up, so hopefully we can post some community events and some police department news outside for folks to walk by. And visually, I hope it'll be a little more pleasing to the eye walking by. Our sign out front, same way, we had a small sign that was outside above the sidewalk on the building that was lit up at night. At some point, the bulbs had burned out. The lettering on it had peeled back from the sun. It looked pretty rough, had some rust on it. Same thing with that. We took that down, reusing the same one or most of the materials, and trying to rework that, make that a little more pleasing for folks walking by. Hopefully, Olivia mentioned about the benches. I've talked to her about having a couple of those possibly out in front of the police department to replace the old concrete benches that have been out there for a while. They're in pretty bad shape. Week before last, we picked up the new car that was discussed at the last meeting. We hope to have it ready for patrol in the next few weeks. We've gotten some of the material in that we need. We're reusing some old things. So hopefully we'll be able to see that out and about, much needed. And I would like to thank Mr. Burton for his help in getting that organized and putting that together and making that happen. The police department administration, myself, Captain Watson, are working. There was a new House Bill 3050 that was passed and signed into law that takes effect January 1st of 2023. It has a lot of changes for the police department, policy and procedure wise. Most of those things we are already doing, but there is some additional things that have to go into place, and things that the academy, the training council, and the state will be looking for from the police department. Fairly complicated and complex. I've got some training on that at the Chiefs Conference, so we're working to get those implemented and have that ready before January. We don't want to be at the end of the year trying to get those into place.
Would you, Tim, I'm sorry, can you kind of give us a little idea of what that covers?
Yeah, so House Bill 3050 came about after George Floyd. The state looked at police reform, training, standards, and all those things, and there are a lot of components in that about use of force, about body-worn cameras. There's some other information in there about uncertified officers. In years past, uncertified officers had been able to work alone with minimal training for up to 12 months before being certified. Starting in January, that no longer will be the case. Any uncertified police officer will have to be in the direct supervision and accompaniment of a certified police officer. There are changes like that as a result from 3050. There's a lot of good stuff in there. I said most of the things we are already in compliance with and have been for a long time. There's some other areas in policy that are new that we want to get put into place. Now, outside of those, most of it is going to be in a compliance and audit. There's a big portion in there where the state will start to look into policy and procedure of departments throughout the state to make sure that they're in compliance with those items that are in House Bill 3050. As it currently stands, there's really not a lot of uniformity between what may be here and what may be at the coast or what may be another part of the state. It varies widely from agency to agency. The basics are generally the same, but there may be some other things. The state wanted to broadly, in some certain areas, say we would like to see this, each department do these things the same way. I think that makes for probably more accountability, more transparency, if everybody's doing it the same way, and it sure makes it a whole lot easier to train when everyone's on the same page. So I think there's some good aspects in there, but it's fairly complicated. If anybody's interested in looking at it, I'd be glad to show it to you and walk you through what I know about it. It's multiple pages.
So how long do we have to be compliant with that?
January 1st.
January 1st.
Yeah, so it goes into effect January 1st.
January 1st?
We'll be compliant before January 1st.
Okay.
Yeah. So, like I said, we have a few things left. thankfully, we've been working over the last few years to update and get our policies where they should be, or where we thought they should be. Unfortunately, those things seem to have been in the right direction because they're mostly in line with what the new state House Bill 3050 says.
Thank you.
Last thing I have for that, we have some cars obviously that are being taken out of service. We've been working the last week or two trying to remove equipment and get all of our decals and things off of those cars so that they can be surplused out. Our month-end statistics: total calls for service in September 1,279, total traffic stops 314, traffic collisions were 16. Reports filed, we had 5 collision reports from those traffic collisions. We had no pursuits, we had no use of force, and we filed a total of 54 incident reports for the month. From our traffic stops, citations and warnings issued, warnings were 218. Of those, 111 were traffic related, 5 were non-traffic related, for a total of 334. Arrests for the month: adults were 37, there were no juvenile referrals, and officers completed 588 extra patrols for the month.
Committee, what questions do we have?
I do. I like them. That looks good. So
I appreciate it.
the badge is different, so it looks good, I think. So, I had a citizen stop me and ask me about they almost run over somebody the other night on a bicycle that they couldn't see. Do we have anything on our books about that, or kids or grown-ups or anything? It upset them pretty bad, so they almost hit him, so they couldn't see him.
I mean, the rules of the road state law and general rules would apply for bicycles. I don't know if there's anything specific. I do know we have some city ordinances pertaining to riding bicycles on the sidewalks and things like that, but I don't think there's anything specific on a city ordinance that would specify that you had any particular kind of light or anything like that.
Is there anything, is that something we can look at, or what do you think about? I mean, I'm not trying to put you on the spot. I felt for this person. I couldn't imagine if they'd run over them and they couldn't see them, so they were on the road.
I'll be glad. I'm not well versed necessarily in what this reflector or that reflector you may have on a bicycle. I'd want to take a little more look at in state law and those rules and see if there's some stuff in there that already applies. If there's not, that may be something that would be worth looking at.
Okay.
I think certainly with the increase in bicycles on the road, and I know like even going home for me out of the city, 2-lane road, there's not a lot of extra highway to ride bikes on, and you encounter those. And I have run up on a bike before myself, and you just don't know they're there until it's almost too late.
And if you could look into that, I sure would appreciate it.
I will.
So.
I have a question, just because I know somebody has shared with me too about the dangers of riding a bike in the road, right? But it is my understanding that a pedestrian riding a bike is like a vehicle, right? They take the lane. It's not like they're supposed to be scooted at the ends or
Correct.
anything. It's like if it was a car, right?
That's correct.
And they're riding their bike, and that's legal,
Right.
right?
Yeah.
So this car trying to pass over, that's illegal, right?
I think you can pass the bicycle. Obviously, they're going to be moving at a slower speed, and you can go around that. But it's going to have to be. The driver should use caution, making sure that it's safe to pass that before they go around.
And ensuring there is like the middle, right? Because there is in Highway 11, there's, I don't know how you call it, but they're skipped, and that's when you can switch lanes. But I guess what I'm trying to understand, maybe we need more public awareness of that bike riders can ride their bike in the road, and that's appropriate and that's legal.
They need to be lit, though. They need to be where you can see.
Especially if it's dark, yeah. But by understanding, that's like if it was a car, right? Respecting just like if it was a car, even though it's not a car.
Right. I think there are a little bit of difference between the bicycle rules and the car rules. Generally, though, I think that's correct. So if traffic is moving this way in cars, the bikes need to be in the same lane. It's not like if you're walking like a pedestrian, you want to walk into traffic,
Yeah.
So that you can see the cars coming. Bikes obviously follow the rules of the road. Let me do a little research on it and see. I'll get you some more information, and maybe we, on our side, on the police department, can do a safety kind of awareness thing to make folks more aware of that. I'll be glad to look into it.
Appreciate that.
Any other questions, Chief?
Okay.
I do have one more question.
Yes.
In regards to the bill that you mentioned that state is passing, does that mean that you have to make sure that your policies, like your handbooks for your employees, are aligned with what the new law is gonna say, and then the council has to make sure that they review the policy and adopt that, so that way you can pass it on to your job?
Council here.
Yeah.
The state law says that there are certain things that have to be in there, so on a day-to-day basis, they're not looking at, tardiness or, vacation time, things like that. There is specific, there's a specific set of things that they looked at, body-worn cameras, use of force, things of that
Yeah.
nature. I'd be glad to get you a copy of it and let you take a look at it.
Okay.
To see what's in there. Essentially, the state has mandated that every agency statewide, police departments, sheriff's offices, any law enforcement agency in the state has to adhere to these
Yeah.
general rules. And there's some things language-wise they don't specifically say that you have to use word for word, but they do provide sample policies that each department could use, essentially word for word. You could take out blank name and insert that department's name, and you could use that policy as is, and it meets the standards for the House Bill 3050.
Oh, okay. And then I guess I go back to your, to find out, is that what the committee and the council is gonna have to do a review to adopt for next year?
No, not for the police department.
No.
Now for citywide HR policy, yeah, I mean, y'all can adopt that, but there's often a subset, in addition. Each department might have a little bit
Okay.
different, SOP or SOG outside of the city handbook. To
Okay.
where internally, they would take care of tardiness or, just minor things of that nature, response. Cause I know that when I was at the fire department, the city had, we had our personnel manual, but we also had, department-specific regulations too. And those were modeled after, what the municipal association put out, so.
You're talking about like you saying that they're talking about the law and then bringing it up to where the cities, like they're both in line, or is that what you're trying to say?
I was just wondering what a role will be in with this new state law coming into effect, and then like what role do we have to play in?
We don't really have,
It supersedes us.
yeah, it's above
Yeah,
us.
you'll
We just have to
the
obey it.
city policy, the city handbook, and the police department, that'll just be, a subset of that, but it will
It's
reflect,
like the policy and procedure, like the policy is what
it'll
you do, so
reflect
like
state law.
they bring it to
Right.
you and like they give you a set of guidelines and you have to put it in like the policies and procedures that told you what to do.
Correct.
Like,
And the way those are written or listed in most of those is at the direction of the sheriff or the police chief in whatever jurisdiction it may be.
So like if I was, it tells me to I'm supposed to have my body camera on while I'm on duty, and I can't take it off, and it says that in the policy and procedure book. If I deviate from that, then I'm in the wrong, because that's what the state wants, and that's what we're doing the same thing as what the state wants us to do. I don't know if that was a good example, but
Yeah, it was. Thank you for that clarification.
Any other questions? Everybody good? We good?
I'm
All
good.
right, thank you,
Thanks,
sir.
guys.
Thank you.
Our next department is utilities. Mr. Parrish, Utilities Director, Mr. King, Grant King is chair of this committee, Councilman Pace, Councilman Jordan are also part of the committee.
Good evening.
Good evening.
All right, I think our numbers report is on a separate sheet because that came in later this afternoon, but we're just showing 4 new taps, and the way these things are shown is as they're paid for, as they go in. So those numbers are going to be dropping off. But Shelley entered 17 into the system, actually yesterday. Some that had been installed so they can start getting their bills. So the guys have been wide open with that. Leaks also. But you can scroll through there and still have had a few inquiries on some new developments coming in. One last week and one earlier in the month, so that has slowed down some though. We're continuing work on the line behind the police department for the fire line. Zane and I were up there this afternoon, and hope to get a little bit more done tomorrow as long as nothing breaks loose. Something we have spent some more time on though lately that's taken up some time, and we've had several in the last month to month and a half. We've had an increase in folks who are just using water without a contract, or after we shut them down from cutoffs, they're turning it back on. So we've seen a definite uptick in that.
I ain't on that committee.
What?
I ain't on the committee, but I got a question.
Go ahead.
Are they cutting a lot?
Yeah.
Well, yeah, that's against the law.
Yeah, that's $250 right there. So
Are you pursuing that?
If they don't come in and pay the fine on it, we are.
Okay.
So far, they've come in within a few days and actually paid the tampering fee. The issue that we run into though is just, and this is, I mean, not the sheriff's department's fault or police department's fault. It's just proving who did it, being able to find somebody to charge and a judge that will actually move through with it. So we've done several of them over the years, and it's very rare that we've had any actually go to court. So it's really hard for them to make a case on who did it, because the person who's got the contract in their name says, I didn't do it. Well, without actually seeing them do it, it's hard to have anybody to prosecute, they said. So,
Well, are these in cases where a house is being constructed? What?
oh, it's multiple. We had one up at Falcons Lair last week. New home being built, they tied directly to the meter. So there's a tampering fee applied to or not the meter, but the yoke that's already there. So the guys cut their pipe loose, put a lock on it, and they were notified that they would have to pay the tampering fee before they could have a meter installed. Some are areas where someone just moves on the property, they cut the lock, turn the meter on, and start using water. Others are folks that have been cut off for non-payment, several months behind, they got locks on it, and they cut the locks, turn on the water. We've had some, once we pull the meter, they'll go in that night, put a piece of pipe or something, rig up something. We've seen some creative stuff over the years. We had one time we got a call about a leak, and they'd taken a piece of conduit that was about 2 inches too short and wrapped it in 2 baby diapers, but somehow they had water in the house. So they get really creative. But yeah, that's the most common things. New construction, folks just moving to a property. We've seen some where they pulled up with a camper, they find a meter, they connect to it. They don't call the guys are out and about, they see it, or a neighbor calls in between read times, things like that. So,
How many instances did you have this month of that?
I think we had 5 this month.
Have they all been settled?
All except for the builder. They're not to the point where they have to have water yet, even though they were using water. So they'll, I guess, eventually come in, or they won't have service for the new house.
Can I ask another question?
Sure.
Are they paying for the lots?
Yes.
Is there something else we need to do with our ordinance about that? Because it seems like to me that whoever, there was a thing one time you pulled over a car and somebody had dope in there, but you got a driver and the passenger, both of them deny that it was theirs. Well, that's the driver of the car, he's responsible for it. So I don't understand how somebody can live on a piece of property and not know that it was cut. It seems like somebody needs to be held responsible for cutting a lock off of it.
Well, I mean, and that's common though. I mean, nobody's going to admit that they did it. We've had 2 people in the 20 years that I've been here that actually admitted they did it. Nobody's going to admit it. Nobody's going to say they did it.
Yeah, but
There's no way to get any kind of fingerprints
on that
on it.
property and you got that on there, you're responsible for that meter.
Not if you have a renter on the property, not if somebody moves in without your knowledge. I mean, they can claim all of these things. This is just, and I'm not arguing, I'm just to let you know what we've heard over the years.
It's not simple sometimes, is it?
Yeah, we found one last week. I mean, it looked like there were several old campers, tarps everywhere. I mean, there's a ton of people out there, and they'd used a lot of water in the last.
How long were they there?
We know at least a month.
So the owner didn't know about it?
Well, he claimed not, but I mean, how do you prove it? That's the thing. How would you prove it?
Did they pay the,
that one, I don't know that they've paid that one yet. I know that we've talked to them a couple times, but I don't know if they've come in and paid that one yet.
but the water's cut off?
The water's off, yes. If they continue to tamper with it, we'll go to the main, cut it off, and then they have to buy a new tap.
I think if they do that, me personally, I think if they cut the lock off, you pull the meter right then.
Oh, we do.
Pull the meter.
We
I
do.
wouldn't put no lock back on it, I pull the meter.
Yeah, we do. We don't do that. We'll pull the meter and add the fees to it.
So that one you pull the meter?
Yes, every one of them we find like that, we pull the meter. We take pictures to document it, and we'll pull the meter. And what we'll do, we'll get the read off the meter, see how much water they've used, and add that to, if there is an account associated with it, we'll add that. But if it's an old account, somebody moved out 5 years ago, somebody else has moved in, there's nothing to add it to. So we have to just make a note somewhere. Before water can go back on that, onto that property, that's gotta be paid.
Well, it sounds like you're doing all you can do.
Yeah, I mean, we're open to ideas. If you got
Yeah.
some ideas, it just
If
takes.
you're pulling the meter and
Yeah.
you know, making a bill to someone,
Yeah.
somebody's got to pay it before they get
What trying
water
to come
again.
off on you is this.
No, that's fine.
It's people stealing stuff.
Oh, it's real frustrating because we'll get a call from one of the meter readers, and they're the ones that typically find it. Or we'll get a call from a neighbor that sees some activity and knows there shouldn't be anybody there, and we'll go and we'll look, and 9 times out of 10 they've also bypassed the power meter, and that's a common thing we find. So if they're going after the water, they're going to go after the power. But you know, it's not uncommon to find that, but that pulls us away from other things, and we'll usually end up spending, if we have to do, especially if we have to do a police report, 2 to 3 hours, because its response time is about an hour, typically hour and a half, and we want to stay there with it so that, one, we don't miss the officer coming out, and two, gives them more opportunity to tamper with other things. So.
Right, water taps, did I see that you have approximately 15?
I think that's actually gone up since I typed this yesterday, but yes, we've got 15 on the waiting list. There are another 8 waiting for installation that we actually have material for. Zane told me he got a call today that we've had some material come in at our supplier, some more brass, so hopefully within the next few days we'll have that. But once those are installed out at Poplar Springs, those are the last ones that we've got paid for at this point. We're gonna go sheet by sheet and basically lay out the material for that tap, so we know we've got it and tell those folks to come on in. But I think we may be up to around 17 now on our waiting list.
That have already paid for their,
They have not paid.
oh,
I didn't want to take their money yet because we don't have the material. I can't give them a
gotcha.
tap yet.
I
So.
gotcha.
You've just got
A waiting
a
list.
placement.
Yeah, what I did, I got them to fill out the application, and when they drop that off out front, the girls will date it, and they'll stick a number on it. So we won't be able to go by those numbers if we go to, we're able to do one for you, but the mayor had also applied, but we don't have the material for his. We'll have to go to the next one on the list. So we're going in order based on materials is how we're going to approach it. Like I said, we've had several leaks pop up in the last week or so also. Had a couple a day, as a matter of fact.
I noticed some water there at, is that Harrison Avenue there at the old J&J Auto? And
Mm-hmm.
There's one on 183 too.
Yeah, they got that one. The one at J&J, I think that's an old service line. I believe we're going to eliminate that one because it's, from what we can tell, I don't know that anything's tied to it anymore. So we're going to try to shut that one down instead of going all the way across with it. And I did go down with Fire Chief and with John to the cultural competency training at Tri-County Tech a couple weeks back. We spent the morning down there and took that in. And last week we had some notifications from DHEC with the storm, or potential coming in for a storm. So we actually went up to the park and lowered the level of the large lake and then the second lake down from that, just to give some capacity in those. Because at the time that they sent that notice, they were anticipating us to have around 12 inches of rainfall in a 24-hour period. So that would have been a lot. So, but luckily it bypassed us. So I guess we're ready for the next one. Those lakes, we've closed the valve on the upper lake, so it should be full again now. We closed it back Friday, so we've got some work to do on one of the other ones, so we're going to drop that level on down just a little bit, just do a little bit of cleanup up there. So but that's going to take a few weeks for it to drop down. And that's all I have. Thank you.
Sewer Authority, any news there that we need to be aware of, any changes?
No, not at this point. Nothing yet.
Okay. And, our consent order from DHEC, have we ever closed that out?
No, I haven't. I think we've got the majority of the work done on it, but that does give us some added leverage on the grant application, so they've recommended we hang on to that.
Oh,
More
with
of
it open, we have leverage.
Yes,
Okay.
that puts us a little higher on the list.
Shows we have a need.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
So having a consent order, it can be a good thing.
That's what they tell us.
Okay, there you go.
Not that we want to go out and get one,
Right,
but
right.
you know.
Okay, if there's nothing else for Mr. Parris, we'll move on.
Thank you, Scott.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Fire Department, Mr. Bates. Our fire committee is Councilwoman Melendez is chair. David Underwood and Tyler Jordan are also part of that committee.
Good evening. For the month of September, fire department responded to 124 calls for service. 59 were fire calls and 65 were medical or rescue calls. During the month, we were on multiple calls 21% of the time. We provided 24 instances of mutual aid. 45 calls were inside the city and 79 calls were either in the unincorporated area or another district. Our average on scene time was 37 minutes. Both career and volunteer staff spent 247 hours on incidents for the month. We responded to 9 fires, 65 rescue or EMS calls, 10 hazardous condition calls, 21 service calls, 12 good intent calls, 6 false alarms or false calls, and 1 special incident. Staff, both career and volunteer, trained for a total of 217 hours during the month. We've hired 2 full-time employees. Last month we had 1 full-time employee leave, which still leaves us with 2 full-time openings now that we've started hiring for the 3 additional staffing. 3 staff members are currently taking EMT class. There were 4, but one of the ones that left was taking that EMT class. Currently we're going through the process of getting our credentialing for the department to be certified to respond calls as a SCDHEC BLS agency, so we'll be able to increase the level of care that we're providing on medical calls, start giving medications, and be a better resource before the ambulance gets there, seeing as how there's increased response times for the ambulance up to, we've seen up to 35 minutes for an ambulance. Staff completed in-depth training on vehicle extrication and stabilization. We actually had a car out back behind the fire department. I'm sure some of you probably seen it or got calls on it. We did a lot of training, flipped the car over, showed the staff how to get people out from underneath or inside. It was a very good training, and I think they got a lot out of it. Also, myself, Director Parris, Captain Watson, and Director Galbraith all attended the cultural competency training at the Tri-County Technological Center during the month. For community risk reduction, fire marshals still completing pre-plans and business inspections and re-inspections as needed. He's been doing a lot throughout the day. He's definitely been getting us back on top and back on schedule where we need to be. And I think this was definitely been beneficial with the business owners having somebody Monday through Friday to where they can reach out and take care of business while they're there as well. Fire prevention, life safety. We had 4 public education events this month. The department's scheduled visits for Fire Prevention Month. We actually had 2 this week so far, and we're gathering materials for school visits. We're actually partnering with West Union. That way we can continue to provide fire prevention in West Union Elementary, even though it's a little bit outside our fire district. We're handling that as well. Staff also participated in the Hispanic Heritage Festival. They brought the platform up there and hung the piñata for the event. On the 31st of October, I know this is something this month, but we're going to have our Boo in the Bay event from 6 to 8. Like Chief Rice was saying, this is going to be a little bit different year. Trying to go back, rebrand it. Right now there's going to be one bay for children can go through. They'll be separated. Younger kids that kind of want a more friendly atmosphere. On the other side, we're going to do kind of a haunted house theme for the older kids and try to see if we can't draw larger crowds and get more involved. On the 29th of October, we've been invited by the Walhalla High School ROTC program to actually participate in an obstacle event for their Raider Team March or Die competition. They have about 8 high schools come up. They wanted us to put together an obstacle for the kids to run through to test their physical and mental abilities. So we'll be doing that on the 29th as well. For business inspections, we completed 28 for the month, 17 pre-plans, 4 rental inspections, 1 car seat installation, and 1 smoke alarm installation. For emergency management, I have several grants that we've submitted over the past couple months out. We're starting to hear back from some of them. They're reviewing our grants, and looks pretty good so far. Right now there's 2 out, and I'm looking at submitting another 2 in the next month. Right now, I want to say thank you to the department heads for this past storm. I know it didn't hit us, but it had the potential to definitely be a pretty large event. I've been pushing out weather briefings and got with Scott. They were a tremendous help making sure that we were prepared and ready for the city to remain operational during that event. So I want to say thank you to them. Other than that, if there's any questions.
What time is that event for the ROTC at the Walhalla High School?
It's going to start around 8:30.
Okay.
Right now I think it's open to parents, friends, and spectators, but it'll normally end if history prevails, and they haven't added a lot more of an event around 1 o'clock in the afternoon. It's a pretty arduous test for the ROTC program. I think it's a 3.5 mile run that they do with obstacles along the way, so there'll be about 8 ROTC programs out there.
So you would be participating in some of your staff members?
No, ma'am, we won't be running it, thankfully. I don't think we'd live through it. But we'll be actually having an event that the high schoolers will run through, something relating to what the fire department does, pulling a simulated dummy drag or dragging hose, things along those lines, and also a little bit of our mental ability. They'll have an obstacle. We use Lego blocks. They'll have a tower already pre-assembled. They won't be able to see each other, but they'll have to communicate via radio how to build the tower on the other side just off of communication, kind of test their ability to communicate and reason as well.
Under pressure.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, awesome. Okay, and remind me, I think it's probably in November, but when is the burning building?
We go to the burn
Training.
building in November.
What day? Do you already have something?
Right now we have a day picked, but if you can forgive me, I can't remember it off the top of my head.
Okay, that's no worries, yeah.
We'll be going to the burn building this 3rd Monday. We'll be doing some ropes, doing a little bit of rope rescue and getting them used to either high line and low angle rescues. So we will be out there this month as well.
Okay, awesome. Thank you.
Committee members, anything else?
Just wanna,
Yes, sir.
Good
Thank you.
job.
Mr. Burton and some of the volunteers from the fire department and firefighters were there at the events that you mentioned, and the piñata, and a lot of children just were amazed with the truck. Yeah, I think that got a lot of attention.
That's one thing we got going for us. Kids love fire trucks.
Yeah.
So
They do love
We just
it.
gotta keep them interested as they get older. Maybe they can become firemen one day.
Yeah, that
Yes.
ROTC event, I was thinking that's a good place to recruit future fire.
Through the ROTC program, I reached out to First Sergeant Huff and Colonel Mangan, and they're actually gonna let us come during the lunch times, kinda set up a table like the recruiters used to, and see if we can't start recruiting. I'm gonna look into revamping our junior firefighter program. We kinda stalled out because of staffing, but with the increase in staffing, I'm gonna see if we can't get that program back.
That'd be great.
That'll allow them to get in the fire department at 16, get some training, see if it's something they wanna do, and once they turn 18, if they got their training, we can offer them a job.
You wanna work at, you go through that burn building, I can tell you that.
Yes, sir.
Even if they don't wanna work full-time, they might make a volunteer.
Yes, sir, and that's something that I think, we're gonna try to reach out to the other municipal chiefs and see if we can't talk to the school district about bringing back the firefighter program at the Hamilton Career Center. They were worried because there wasn't a lot of job placement, but the reward as volunteers in the communities, you can't replace that value.
That's right. Thank you.
Yes, sir, thank you.
All right, our next committee is general government. Chief or Administrator Burton, I still wanna call you Chief Burton. Keith Pace is chair of that committee. Councilman Woodward, who just had to leave, is, also on that with Councilman Grant King, so it's all yours.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just briefly, I'll run through some of the stuff we've worked on this month. Still trying to solicit some interest in our engineering position. I did have a person showed some interest, and they're also interested in the code enforcement or code interpretation side, so may have an opportunity to get a 2-for-1. So I'm gonna be working on that this week. We're still building out our building permitting and inspection program, looking at our 2021 ICC codes. We adopted 2018 a couple of years ago, but still just trying to get the mechanics and how our program will look like nailed down before we bring it to council. Working with Duke Energy to provide them information to their engineers so they can start the design process on the EV charging stations up at Brown Square. Budget reports have been sent out. Appreciate all the work that all the departments did in preparation for the storm. There was some cleanup up at Stump House as well. I appreciate that. Codes and zoning, planning has been pretty busy. There's still a lot of folks interested in coming inside the city. They're asking a lot of zoning questions, so still filled a lot of those. Again, for this past month, 11 zoning permits, 6 sign permits, and we held the Joint Planning Commission council meeting for the annexation request at the last meeting. Last night we had the Planning Commission meeting. They did vote to move a vacant building ordinance, at least the conversation, to council. I had some edits to make on those at their direction, so I don't have that for committee. We can look at that at council, and if y'all want to take it up council meeting, that's fine, or if y'all want to put it back to the committee, that's fine as well. There's some financial reports there. We're looking okay right now. I did get an email while I was on vacation last week, or sort of a vacation. We will get our ARP payment, the second and final installment, sometime this month. I got a note from the Treasury and the South Carolina State to do that. I wanted to embarrass a couple of employees. I wanted to Brad and Chase that work on the utility departments. They're the workhorses of the sewer side a lot of times, and I got an email from an individual, and they just wanted to know wanted the city to know how pleased they were with the 2 gentlemen from the water department and came and helped with the issue that they were having. Brad and Chase were very thorough, professional in the assessment of the issue, and made me feel very comfortable moving forward with the project. So we don't often get a lot of accolades for staff, and when we do, I want to make sure everyone knows it. So I wanted to commend them. They've not only done a lot for the, for me, in special projects either around the city or up at Stump House, but they also do a lot for our citizens and residents. So I appreciate all their work. And that's all I have.
Committee, questions?
I don't have anything. Just keep up the good work. I know it's been a lot. Filling in vacancies up here.
When do you anticipate our new employee starting?
That'll be November. I forget the exact date. The planning and zoning person will be in November. Hopefully the engineering tech / code / building person will be sometime toward the latter part of this month, if everything works out.
Anyone else have any questions? All right, hearing none, we will move to our next item. Action discussion items. Discussion of tree committee. You wanna?
Yeah, I put an ordinance in here just for y'all's information. Part of being a tree city and all that, we need to make sure our ordinance is up to date, and there's some things that the committee wants to work on. I think the existing committee or some of the folks that work with the tree stuff, they've noticed some things on here. They want to make some recommendations that we change and kind of tune up the tree ordinance. So that's there. So if you'll be reviewing that and if you have any ideas, suggestions, etc., let us know about that. I believe the mayor has a list of folks that are interested in serving on the tree committee, and we can take that up at the council meeting this month. And I'll defer to him if you have any.
Yeah, it's basically the guys that have been doing it. It had been a while since they had been reappointed. I emailed back and forth with Councilman Jordan, and he agreed that if they were all willing to serve for 2 more years, that we certainly wanted them to continue. And for those that don't know who they are, presently Richard Harper, that has been on there for a long, long time. David Hedden's been there a good while. David used to work for the Forest Service, I believe, retired. Mr. Frank Goldner, that lives up on Main Street. John Bodiford, who is a horticulturist, retired from Clemson Botanical Gardens. David Lyle. Let's see, is that all of them?
I think so.
I believe that's all of them, but they're all local folks that are good volunteers that want to see Walhalla's trees do well. We've also talked about that if you guys so desire, that we might actually add a couple of people to the board, raise it to 7. That's debatable. That's something we can or can't do, just according to what y'all want to do. I personally, anybody that wants to help, I certainly don't want to turn them away, but
is there any new folks interested?
Not that I'm aware of, but y'all may know of some.
Yeah.
So are we fully staffed right now on that board?
Yes.
5?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
But I'm gonna try to get them, once you guys decide whether or not, and I know you'll probably want to approve them, get some things moving forward to where we can, Mr. Price has worked with me, and we are now ready to apply, I think, for our Arbor Foundation Tree City application. We've pretty much gathered all the information to send that in. Once we get that sent in, and it actually goes through the South Carolina Forestry Commission. We talked with people down there recently, and they're aware of what we've been doing in Walhalla. They've talked with us, and they're excited about us becoming a Tree City, and hopefully that will allow us to get some grants from the Arbor Foundation for trees, to give away trees to our citizens, that sort of thing, and it's all good. It's a good program.
Do we have to move that to council to approve those members? They're in the council meeting?
Yeah, I think you can just nominate them during council.
Yeah, we'll bring it up next meeting. I was just talking
Yeah.
about it where you
Well, I
guys
didn't know if
wouldn't.
we needed to make a motion to move it to the councils for the agenda,
You
or you
can
can just
if
add
you'd
it to the
like.
agenda.
You can if you want to. I think everybody's probably in agreement.
Yeah,
But you can if you want to.
yeah. What do you wanna just bring it up then too,
Yes.
about the adding the extra members, just so
We
you'll have
can.
the seats available?
We can, and you guys can look at this ordinance. We're
Yeah.
not in any hurry to change that. Brandon and I have talked about it. There are a few things on there we probably think we need to change, but we'll take some time and work through that.
This is the ordinance that I'm looking at from 1993-9?
Yes.
The one, okay. So that ordinance itself will need to be moved, so that way we can amend or adjust anything, right? To
Yes.
be up to date. It says
We can
5,
amend it,
if we
yes.
say 7. Along the lines of that, because it is an official board and it has an ordinance behind it, can I also just suggest that we somehow put this in our website, just like we have our planning commission, and call that what it is, our tree board committee, or the official name to it, then we can add the names of those individuals too, as I would like for the planning commission's names to be on our website. I think you do have that.
Yeah, they're on there, yeah.
Because
I haven't did anything with the tree committee
Yeah.
yet, but the BZA and planning commission, they're on there.
I guess, and since we're moving along with a potential expansion, and it is an official board by ordinance, we'll love to see that reflect on our website.
Or just to
as
make
we
it
start moving.
official, I'd like to make a motion to move it to council.
Okay.
Okay.
All right, we'll do that, and, Mr. Burton, you got another item there.
Yes, sir. I received an email, or it's copied on an email, an individual, I believe a realtor down, on Lake Huey at our water treatment plant facility. If you remember, last year we planted some, landscaping around the side and captured most of it. This different set is apparently requesting that we plant something to cascade down over the wall, to break up the line of the wall and help it fade into the background. I tasked Scott, he contacted our engineers and asked them about that, and they recommended not painting the wall and not planting anything on top of it for it to cascade out. The way that system is, it's stacked in there, and if you get any sort of vegetation or growth root system, it'll start to push that stack block out, and then obviously it could damage the integrity of the structure, and that's obviously something that we don't want to happen. Probably what we can offer is plant a few more trees on the upper side of the dock, because when we did the original contract, we planted everything around to the dock, and then we might be able to throw a few more trees in there. They're not going to be fast growing, but we can match what's out there and do that, and that should be fairly inexpensive to do that. But I just wanted to make y'all aware of that.
So it's my understanding that the objective of wanting to do the creative part of art and all of that is just to not see the concrete of
Yes, yeah, they're not, they don't want to see the concrete or the retaining wall at all. Yeah. In a couple of years, when the trees do grow out and they fill out, it'll be obscured more and more. You'll still see the building up top, but there'll be some landscaping there.
Okay.
Any questions, comments, anything? We can only do what we can do.
And getting professional input of what the aftermath could be if you do something of such request.
We can't
right?
afford to damage the
Yeah.
wall, as much as we would like to.
Beautify it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
All right, getting to the bottom of the agenda, it's good. Executive session, we have none planned unless there's something that somebody needs to bring up that we're not aware of.
We adjourn.
Okay,
Second.
yeah, my next item there was mayor comments, and I don't have any, so, if everyone's willing, we will adjourn. Thank you, thank all of you